Hey everyone, it's Will, GamerDad, with another video for you. So in tonight's video, we're going to cover stages 5 to 7 of the normal version of the Battle Simulator, aka Boss Rush. Now if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, I really appreciate it. I also do have a Patreon account for those who want to support me this way. So in stage 5, the main thing is that in order to get all the rewards, of course, you cannot lose any characters. That goes without saying for any of these boss challenges. Also, you do have to carry Aldo as well as Fane in your party of 6. And so, in this case, I left Aldo up front because 4-star Fane is very fragile and can die very easily to bosses. And I used Aldo to switch in for AS Rosetta. Now, I'm sure most zone-type teams should do very well. In this case, I just brought a magic team because it seemed to be a little bit more flexible. It's got a lot more defense in terms of type shields, healing, and so on and so forth. And keep in mind that at the end of the day, at the beginning of each challenge, they do give you a hint as to what kind of attacks you should be bringing or what kind of attacks you should be facing. In this case, you can see that characters are weak to magic, and so this is a perfect time to be using a magic team if you have one already. If you don't, and you have some free stones, make sure you get a chance to summon on that magic weapon banner. They do have some of the more powerful units, such as AS Myers, which you see here, AS Rosetta, which you also see here, among others. So, again, we're not doing much mitigation. There aren't any debuffs on this team. I'm not bringing in Avis Tua, although if I had 2 slots in the back for a total of 6, then I would definitely bring AS Tuva to help with debuffing just in case. Keep in mind, this is still the normal difficulty level. It's getting a little bit more challenging, being this is battles 5 to 7. If you didn't already, make sure you check out my video from stages 1 to 4 as well. And they do get progressively harder. They also rate the difficulty when you start the fight. I will say that some of these battles I did have to restart or redo a couple of times, only because, when you go in blind and you don't look at any strategy guides, you can get caught off guard and may not have everything perfect. In this case, I didn't get, I had one of my characters die earlier, so I had to redo that, but this party will, fulfill all 3 conditions, so don't worry about that. And I'll show you my loadout, again, being that the battle is a little bit harder. So hopefully these videos help at least illustrate kind of the challenges you're up against. Keep in mind that all this content is permanent, so if you don't have some of these teams, you can definitely try other teams. But if they are too difficult, you can always come back another time to challenge them. You do get 3 of these bold pulses per day to challenge. And, they reset every day. And you can actually buy some with either Sabir's Gems once a week, or you can buy them with Chrono Stones, in which case I'm not going to be doing that. I'll just be using the 3 every day. So I hope that's okay in me putting out videos every day and putting out some of those boss fights. Now in this case, I will say this particular boss, that Phantom, is actually quite challenging. Not only do the crystal do magic attack, this Phantom does a triple magic and actually rotates through elements. So be very, very careful. I actually start off with an elemental team, and that's not a good idea. If you use an elemental zone team, you will get caught off guard and get blown out of the water. Now conversely, you can actually start off with a half bar AF once you establish zone and wreck the enemy. In this case, we're just using mitigation. Keep in mind, we do have Judgment from Renri, OG, or normal style. This challenge requires every unit to be normal style. No ASs allowed if you want all 3 rewards. Also, one note is that if you want to, you can actually do 2 different battles, one to fulfill each of the different conditions. That way, you don't have to be so restricted, because you can kind of clear it once with one condition and then tailor your team to clear it the other way. In this case, I'm trying to do it so that one team can fulfill all conditions if possible. Now we have King Parsifal with shield, as well as the different primeval crystal. Keep in mind that as a non-elemental team, I know that Fury is elemental, but our main DPS is non-elemental. We have the advantage of being able to penetrate through any kind of elemental resistance if needed. And right here, I'm using this turn on the boss to burn an AF and set up all our buffs on our team Slashing Saber to enhance Renry, for example. And of course, Elga's got the Amplified Aura. We can also set up Elemental Barrier or Guardian Field if we need to heal. So we really want all our type shields up. One other great thing about Radius, and that puts her a little bit ahead of Cress, is that she not only has a type shield Elemental Barrier, which is 50% type damage reduction, she also has a Rage, of course, and finally she has Sword of Hope, which is a 25-25 debuff of power and int, and is for 3 turns in /zone. So very, very defensive. We got 2 debuffers. We actually have a small type shield from Guardian Field as well. We can really protect ourselves. Now in this final stage, Vice's Embryo does have an HP stopper, and so you can either trigger it or you can activate an EF. If you do so, bear in mind you'll still need a couple of turns to kill it. And also if you kill off the crystal, it will regen. As you can see, Vice's Embryo brings it fully back to life, and so target all your attacks on Vice's Embryo. Keep in mind that you want to keep some debuffs, especially if you're taking a lot of damage. And Quattro Drive with a couple of debuffs and stacks on her ends that particular phase. So battle 6 or stage 6 is done. This is actually the same team that I used to beat the twins in the very first attempt for myself. So very, very useful. This team can also beat the 4 true spirits as well. Just showing the loadout as usual. Some of the Grasta has been enhanced, but even without enhancements, it can handle, definitely this team can handle some of the tougher bosses in the game. Very, very versatile indeed. And Crest rounds it out, being that if we do need to switch one zone and replace it with another, he's there to help us out. Alright, so in our final stage 7, this is difficulty 6, so again, normal stage, so to speak. You do have to clear with 4 or less characters, and again, you're fighting essentially all the bosses for the first few stages. So remember that Varus and Gildner were weak to magic. We are using a full magic team here, and keep in mind that you will be later on facing other bosses as well, all which with varying attacks and tactics. So we do have half bar to start, of course, and I fully recommend bringing a half bar if possible. And we have established zone here. So the first hits are obviously all physical in nature. You can use a debuffer such as AS Tuva with Manifest if you like, but we will definitely survive those 2 hits even if they landed on the same character. 1400 times 2 is definitely only 2800, and we can just kill it right here. I'll cast Pure Cradle to heal, and we will set up some damage with Prayer of Judgment to enhance our damage in Magic Zone. Varus on turn 2 just does a debuff, so not much to worry about. We're just going to slaughter it here on turn 3. This one does have a 10-turn limit, and so if you do take a little bit longer to kill the bosses, then you won't get all the rewards, at least for the very first round. In earlier stages, we also took on the Synth team here, Helena and the Synth Drone. I decided to use the second boss to activate a full AF here in order to set up all our shielding, healing, any buffs that we need to set up. If you're wondering why I'm raining Desiree on, remember that AS Rosetta can stack up to 3 stacks on her own, and then it allows extra hits for each round of Desiree. So once you have 3 stacks, when you attack again, it will remove all the stacks but do multiple fireballs or meteors down on the earth, which will really enhance things. Keep in mind that Manifested Garyu normal style or OG form really does boost staff damage by 50%. And of course, if you had AS Dunarith, he would do even a better job. However, we're using what we have here, and of course, more than enough. Mariel adds a guaranteed crit with Manifest to magic teams, and AS Myers, no need to explain further. She's a top tier DPS, and you can see right there, we used up all our stacks, and it just rained meteors and fire down on the enemies. Now, in this final stage, if you do let it hit you, it actually can hit for quite a few thousands damage, and so be very, very careful that you don't die in this final stage. So this, again, was my first try, and it's very, very easy to die. In this case, we do have Magic Zone active, and it does reduce some damage by 30%. And now I decide to activate a quick AF because, again, the bosses can hit for extreme amounts of physical damage, and unless you bring some debuffers, you can take the full brunt of the damage. So we'll just turn to burn right here, and we have all the debuffs set up. Type resistance down 50%. Pain is set from Krasta, and then we'll be able to do maximum damage with our characters. And so all that remains now is one shot to kill from any of our top DPS. And there we go. Desiree rains down from heaven and destroys the enemy. So yeah, 10 turns, and again, 4 or less characters. And finally, I'll show you the loadout, but it'll be the same as earlier in the video. No funny business here. I didn't modify anything. Again, I know that my full Magic team would have had certain carriers of Grasta with AS2 in the back. However, we only have 4, and so I didn't modify the Grasta setup here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.